Hey everybody, today we'll be making a taco chicken mix. It can be rolled into tortillas or just eaten with scoops or tostado nachos or any kind of nachos you like. We're going to be using a can of black beans. I've already rinsed and drained those. Some Philadelphia cream cheese, some rotel tomatoes, 8 ounces of salsa, a taco seasoning mix pack, some frozen corn. You can use canned corn if you need to, just drain it off. Some frozen chicken breasts. I'll be using 3 to 4, however much you want to make. I'm going to use 4 today. Some ranch seasoning mix. Sometimes that comes in a pouch like the taco mix or these canisters. It can be omitted if you don't have that. Some salt, some pepper, some garlic, and onion. We'll begin by putting 3 or 4, I'm going to do 4, of the frozen chicken breasts directly down into the Instant Pot liner. No trivet is needed. You can just put them straight down into the liner. Next, I'm going to sprinkle them with a little salt. I'm going to sprinkle them with a little pepper, a little bit of the onion powder, a little bit of the garlic powder. I just like to add that to pretty much anything I make. Next, I will dump in the can of black beans. I'm just going to dump them into the pot there. I will dump in the can of rotel. Just dump that in as well, side there. And then I'll just use my bean can here and fill it with some of the frozen corn. Now I've filled my empty bean can with some of the frozen corn, so I have about a can of frozen corn, and I'm just going to dump that in. Oh, got a little stuck in there on top. Then I will add the remaining ingredient. This is about 10 ounces, but you can do 8 to 10 ounces. It's like one of those smaller jars if you have it, of salsa into the pot. There's a little bit left in there, so I'll just put a tablespoon or so of water, swish it around, and get the rest of that out. Okay, I filled my salsa jar up with about a 1/4 cup of water, swished it around to get the rest of that salsa, and I'm just going to go ahead and pour that on top there. Again, that was probably only about a 1/4 cup, maybe a 1/3 cup. And finally, we will add our taco seasoning mix, just a powdered mix. And I'm just going to sprinkle that liberally all around in my pot. And last is the ranch seasoning. I'm not exactly sure how much of the ranch I want to use. It's not an exact measurement, but I've just got a large tablespoon here. You can see kind of a heaping tablespoon, and I'm probably going to add, that's 1, and probably 1 more scoop. Probably a second heaping tablespoon here. To that as well. Looks pretty good. Maybe just a little more. Half another one. Why not? Another half. So that was 2 of these tablespoons. Kind of fairly large. 2.5 scoops of the ranch seasoning salad dressing mix. Notice I have not used the cream cheese yet. We're going to save that till the end. Now we'll go to actually setting the pot. So make sure that your seal here is well seated all the way around the inside edge of your lid. Let's just push down really well. Then you will put on your, attach your lid. I'm going to go back here and I'm going to turn my vent sealing knob to seal. I'm going to set this on manual. It's high pressure. And I'm going to set this up for 15 minutes. That's all I have to do now. I've got the 15 in. I just stop and wait for the pot to begin. It will show on. It's going to begin heating and building pressure. As an update, it's been about 2 minutes and 39 seconds since we set our pot. It's still just heating and coming to pressure. You won't really notice anything happening at this point. As an update, we're at almost just before 6 minutes. And our pot's still on, still coming to pressure. You don't really see anything happening yet. It does take a little bit longer to come to pressure with the frozen chicken. Also because I added the frozen corn. It would be a little bit quicker in a 6-quart Instant Pot. This is the 8-quart. It also probably would be a little bit quicker coming to pressure with fresh chicken and the canned drained corn instead of the frozen. But we're waiting now for our pot to come to pressure and begin its cooking countdown. As an update, we're at almost 10.5 minutes and you can now audibly hear some noises. You can hear rumbling, boiling within the pot, kind of hear some clicks and ticking going on. So it shouldn't be too much longer now for our pin to pop up and our pot to pressurize. We're at a little over 12 minutes. You can now hear the valve kind of sizzling there. Not sure if you can pick up on it. There's a little bit of steam. I think you can see just a little bit visible coming through there, not a lot. And this is how you know you are getting close to pressure. Won't be long now. You might be able to see a little bit of that steam now coming up out of the valve. Just a slight amount. Starting to kind of move and bobble around. Almost. Almost. And there we are. Sealed off. You can see how it's risen up from the edge of the pot. Really sealed. Don't see hardly anything else coming out now. And we are at 14.5 And it's 55 seconds. So right at 15 minutes, pot is pressurized. In just a moment, we'll see this change to our 15-minute countdown. Here we are, about 1.5 minutes since our pen popped and sealed, and now you can see our timer is at 15. We set it on, and it will begin counting down to 0. Nothing to do now but wait for the beeps that it's ready. Okay, we've counted down. We're now at 12. Again, our pen is still up. It's making some sizzling noise. That's okay. Don't really see any signs of steam escaping at this point. Things are just continuing to cook. Also, I want to make one correction. For the water that was added in the salsa jar, it was not a 1/4 cup, it was not a 1/3 cup, but while we were waiting, I went, poured that in the jar, actually measured it with a measuring cup, and found it to be a full 1/2 cup. So when you add that water, when you're rinsing your salsa jar out based on the size of my jar, what I had, when I measured that amount of water that I rinsed and poured in, it actually was a 1/2 cup. Now a lot of times people say, well, don't you have to add more water than that? But with my chicken breast being frozen and my corn being frozen, it gets some moisture there. Also, you have the liquid in your salsa and your rotel tomatoes to make up the difference, and you usually will not get a burn notice. But again, when I was rinsing out that salsa jar, adding a little more liquid that you saw earlier, it actually was a 1/2 cup. We've got about 7 minutes left to go on our timer, and while we're waiting, I've gone ahead and gotten a plate and 2 forks. I will use this to pull out the chicken breast pieces and shred them. I've gone ahead and opened my cream cheese. I've cut 1/2 of that block there. You're welcome to use the full block if you like. Knock yourself out. Go ahead. I typically just only add the 1/2 a block. And I've gotten out the cornstarch just in case our mix is too thin or too runny. And I'll mix a few spoonfuls of this in some cold water. It's important that you use cold so it doesn't clump. Mix it up good, and then add that little bit of kind of cornstarch slurry to your mix and stir for a few moments, and it will allow it to thicken up. One other note, should you see steam coming up around these outside areas of your lid, that will mean that your seal inside is not seated properly. That would mean you're getting a leak from your lid that's going to cook all of your moisture out, give you a burn notice. Your pot may not ever really seal, your pen might not come up. So if you're seeing a lot rising out from this connection here around where your lid meets the pot, that just means you'll need to, as long as your pen is down, you can just open your lid and try to reseat your seal well and put your lid on and try again. It'll already save whatever heat's there and continue to heat up. But that will be an indication of a seal problem with your seal. We've got 5 minutes left to go. Once it reaches 0, I'm going to do what is a quick release, meaning I will move this from sealed to vent. All of the steam will escape here. As soon as the pot's depressurized, the pin will drop. When the pin has dropped back down, the pot is safe to open. I'll open the pot, remove the chicken breast to my plate, shred it, and then return it back into the rest of the mix. See you with that in just a few minutes. Okay, our pot just beeped and beep, 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 and now shows the L. That means our cooking time is done. This is how many minutes it has been on warm. It's just now we're going to keep warm. This would keep counting up 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, however minutes we would allow the pot to sit and stay warm. But I'm not going to allow mine to stay warm. I'm going to go ahead up here, like I said. I'm going to turn this valve to release our pressure. We're just going to let that pressure release until our pin drops. It's been 2 minutes and the steam is all released. My pin has dropped. And I'm going to go ahead and open my pot here. Alright. This is what it looks like. It's looking a little runny, but that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can find one of those chicken breast pieces. There we go. I'm going to fish out the chicken. Here. One. It's very tender down here. I'm going to go back in and fish out that other little piece. See if I can scoop out my other ones. Goodness, it's already so tender, it's kind of broken apart in there. Won't be much to shred, I don't think. Just pull this chicken out. Just kind of scooping and fishing my chicken pieces out here. You can see how it's already breaking apart on me. The chicken's just so already so well done. Just kind of falling apart. See if I can find some more. A little more here. Little piece there, I'll just leave. See if I've caught it all. Okay, looks like I've caught all the big chicken pieces. Sorry for the steam there. Just give this a quick stir around. Get all the chicken out. So now I'll use these forks. This is just falling apart here. I'll just kind of use my 2 forks and shred this up a little bit. Okay, here is our shredded chicken. I kind of shredded up. I'm going to go ahead and take my half of a cream cheese here. Oops. Half a block of cream cheese. I'm going to add this in to my hot tomato beans corn mixture. And stir this around a little bit till I get it good and melted. Then I'll toss the chicken back in and stir it in as well. Okay, the cream cheese is now completely melted. I'm going to add the chicken. Dump the chicken in. Give it a good stir around. Get it mixed up well within the dip. I'm going to let this sit for just a couple minutes. And I'll recheck the consistency to see if it's as thick as I want it. If not, I'll add a little bit of the cornstarch mixed in a little tablespoon of cold water. I'll add a little cornstarch slurry to thicken it up a bit if it's still too runny. Let's see, it's looking pretty good. Might just let it sit for a few minutes, give it a chance to see what the true thickness is going to be. I think it's just a little bit looser than I want it to be, so I'm going to take a tablespoon here of the cornstarch. Add a spoonful of cold water to that and mix it. Okay, so I've got a couple of tablespoons of cold water mixed into my cornstarch here. I'm going to dump this right into my mixture. Going to get all of that in there that you can. Okay. Then I'm going to stir it in and just give it a few minutes to thicken up. Okay, I've stirred it in well. Let it sit a few minutes. I went ahead, my warm button was on. I went ahead and touched this saute, switched over here. This is going to begin to heat the mixture up again. You can see it's kind of bubbling and boiling, and it'll stick if you're not careful. So stir it around. The only reason I'm doing this is just to allow that cornstarch that we added to kind of get hot and do its thickening. You can see this is beginning to thicken up. You can have it as thick or as loose as you want. You want to add more broth or stock or tomatoes and make it a soup. This is getting good. It's thickening up nicely. Thickening up. I'm going to go ahead and turn it off just because I don't want it to burn. I only wanted it to heat up and bubble just a few minutes, enough to thicken up that cornstarch. I'm going to go ahead and saute. I'm going to go ahead and push over here and turn it off. I'll keep stirring while it's hot just to keep it from sticking. Now you're ready to eat. You can serve it up inside of flour tortillas. If you choose to roll them up inside tortillas like a burrito, or just get a big bowl full and eat it with these scoops, or build the scoops and the mix and make yourself kind of a taco bowl, in which case you can add extra shredded cheese on top. Some ideas would be some sour cream. If you want to dice some avocado, put some avocado slices on there. Just top it off however you like. And one final stir. And you see what we wound up with. And it's already steaming up. And that is it. Ready to wrap, scoop, and enjoy.